Hello everyone, it's Mr. Shikowski. I'm putting together a set of instructions here that will go along with bulletin number 6, which I sent out earlier today. These instructions are going to be wide-ranging. I'm going to sort of talk a little bit about what I wrote in that bulletin, but I'm also going to leap ahead into the next coming few days, with the hopes that by showing you a few things right now, then my future instructions will be that much easier to understand or to follow. If they're only just by email, at least you'll have had a chance to sort of get a sense of where we're headed. So once again, we're starting from our website. Really, the majority of what we'll be doing and using this website in the coming days is all in our documents library, which is just, we scroll down a little bit, here it is, and we're inside the Unit 2 folder. And for the most part, we're also inside this ecological folder. But I guess I should start while I'm here just by talking to you about the textbook study notes that are now going to be starting to be assigned. Okay, so your textbook study notes for the entire unit are put into this file, and the very first couple of pages are about ecological footprints, which is exactly what this project is about that we're now underway in. And so we're going to be using the textbook in a targeted way to deal with certain topics and concepts that the book deals with well, and use this as a place to record our learning, definitions, that kind of information. So what I hope you'll recognize when you look at the digital version, I think some of you will have picked up a paper copy of this as well before classes ended. But again, for those that didn't, this is right inside when you first click into our Unit 2 Natural Resources from our documents, from the main documents page here, Documents Library. Unit 2, here's it's item number 2 and then item 2.1 I'll talk about in a second. But this textbook study notes applies to the entire unit. And later in the unit, we'll be doing some things around water and some things around forestry and logging. And that's why I did not put this inside the ecological footprint folder. It has stayed out inside the main Unit 2 area where we have other things going on as well. So going back to the actual textbook study notes, what you hopefully will notice, first of all, again, it's been a little while since we were working with these, but this lets you know which chapters that we're going to be using to answer the questions in the various parts of these books, these notes. You can see again here that each gray bar indicates a new section. So for section 1, we're dealing all with ecological footprint, and we will for another week or two. So here are the pages that you'll be referring to. And what you may notice, I think this is new for Unit 2, is that certain questions are bolded, the numbers here. So example number 1, number 2, you'll see number 3 isn't bolded, yet number 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9 are. Okay, so what this indicates is the questions that are critically important for understanding certain concepts that are going to come back later in the course or later in the unit. They often are questions that are asking you for either definitions or connections between different topics and ideas. And they are ones that I absolutely am going to be asking you to work on in the coming days and weeks. So we'll call these, these bold numbered questions the key points that you should be focusing on. And for now, you can SOT. Some other time we'll deal with these ones that are not bolded. Okay. So earlier today, I asked you to get a start on these by doing questions number 1 and number 2. And again, the questions themselves are here, the space to write your answers. If you're doing this on paper, you have that space. If you're going to use an electronic copy, then download it into your computer. It becomes a Word document that you can then write your answers right inside, and it'll expand and make as much room as you need in order to write your notes when you're typing them in an electronic version. So that's one benefit for those that want to use more space than has been provided here. So this is how the textbook study notes work. Now, there may be some of you that did not grab your textbook in those last few days of classes before the school shut down. And so in order to help people in those circumstances, we have scanned the textbook chapter that you'll be needing for different segments of our course. And in this case, this is the chapter on ecological footprint. The page numbers are in the top corners, and so this allows anybody who doesn't have their physical textbook at home with them to still access what they need in order to answer the questions in the textbook study notes. Okay. So apart from those two pieces, everything else I'm going to be talking about is inside the ecological footprint folder, where we have now been working for over a week, I guess, since spring break. So at this point, we've learned a little bit about what natural resources are and how they're categorized. We've learned a little bit about the way that we consume natural resources by the way we live, especially in North America. And what we are going to start to move into now is an exploration of a way of calculating the impact that humans can have on the environment by the way they live. And that concept is known as an ecological footprint. And so I'd asked you today, the other thing that I'd asked you to do for homework today specifically was to take a look at this ecological footprint project booklet. And so there it is. It's item number 5 on the list. This is right below the State of Consumption Today article, which you should now have read and answered a few questions on. So the ecological footprint booklet, for those of you that grabbed this before school ended, you should find this on green paper. This is a green booklet. And so if you have a paper copy, if you've got paper notes that you grabbed in the last few days before school ended, then you'll likely find this booklet among them. And for those that don't, here is the electronic version. Okay, what I'm asking you to do, and this is where I need you to take special care here, because this was not written into the email, and now I'm just going to explain what to do in the coming next few days. Okay, step number 1 with this booklet is I want you to read this first page very carefully, and I want you to highlight any important sentences or phrases, things, for example, that are italicized, that you think explain what an ecological footprint is, or explain why it's important, or how it's used, or things of that nature. So I want you to carefully read this first page as a way of introducing yourself to the concept and the history of it, and the fact that there were 2 Canadians who invented this concept, and their names and a little bit of the history is in there. Okay. Now, the second page is a space that has been dedicated for you to make notes on a concept that is called sustainable development. And that particular concept has its own PowerPoint, and it's right below where this file is on our website. And so when you open this PowerPoint, you're going to start with just a quick review of the flowchart, a similar flowchart to the one that we had made way back at the beginning of Unit 2, when we were just learning about how resources can be categorized. There's 2 major categories, renewable and non-renewable. And here I'm asking you to remember or think of perpetual as a subcategory of renewable. And these kinds of resources can never run out. They are sort of, they have an unlimited sort of source and amount, whereas these kinds of renewable resources here are ones that theoretically should be able to renew themselves and be available for human consumption forever. But it is possible that these can turn into non-renewable resources if they are used in a way that consumes them faster than nature can replenish them. Okay, if they're abused or polluted or misused in some way. And so we're actually going to be learning a little bit about how water can become non-renewable, and the importance of soil as a renewable resource, but what can happen when we farm certain ways and it turns non-renewable. That's coming in future units, future weeks. So, but this is sort of the beginning. This just ties us back to the concept of what natural resources are. But this really is a PowerPoint about what sustainable development means, what it is as a concept, and how you define it. And so this is a hyperlink. There are many hyperlinks embedded in various slides of PowerPoints that I'm going to be sharing with you in the coming days. So keep your eyes peeled for things that have this kind of blue color and underline when you first open them, because simply hovering over them, you should be able to connect automatically to a YouTube video that has been found to help explain this concept or help teach it in a different way. Okay, and often I'll have instructions on the slide to remind you not to forget to look at these different links and listen to them and consider what they're teaching you. So this is key right here when you get to the third slide. These are the notes. The notes that are here in purple and this last white set of writing right here, these are the notes that are meant to be recorded in this space on page 2 of your ecological footprint project booklet. Okay, and this circle with the triangle inside it, okay, this is also part of the notes that come from the next slide here. Okay, and so we call this the sustainability triangle. And as you read through the notes and watch the videos that are hyperlinked to these slides, you'll learn that really the essence of sustainability is one that tries to balance these three things. And what you'll notice here is this is an equilateral triangle, which means that all three sides are the same size, and that is meant to try to show the equal balance between these three things in order for us to consider the way that we live as sustainable. If we put too much emphasis on the economy and not enough on the environment or the health of society, then fundamentally we are not living sustainably, and there will be implications and repercussions if we live too long like that. And so this is what's going to happen in the coming days, is we're going to start to explore the concept of ecological footprint and how we are living unsustainably with respect to the way we use resources and the way we treat nature. And so that is, this is sort of laying the foundation for some language that we're going to start to use to explain in more detail aspects of ecological footprint. Okay. Now, there's a few more slides in this PowerPoint. Again, we're not quite finished with just the amazing amount of consumption that happens through typical human life in North America. There's another link here that you can watch quickly, a few more stats, and there are some essential questions at the end of this short PowerPoint. 2 of them have links to videos, but the questions themselves I am asking you to answer, to record your thoughts, and make this the next aspect of your Eco Footprint Reflections log, your next entry in that Reflections log. Okay, and again, that log is something you should now have started based on the instructions that were in the Geo Bulletin number 4 or 5, I guess it was. So these 3 questions are where we're going to start to move our thinking. What happens when the rest of the world starts to live the way we do in North America? Can the world sort of keep living the way that they are, and the way especially we are in wealthier parts of the world like North America? And what are some of the root causes of unsustainability? So again, there's videos here that you must watch for a fuller appreciation of these questions, and then any thoughts you have along the way can be recorded in your Reflections log. And this is basically the way that we'll be using this short PowerPoint again to, where are we? Yes, to complete the notes on page 2 of your green booklet, if you have a paper copy, the booklet on ecological footprint. Okay. Now, I just want to continue talking a little bit more about this booklet and what else we've got in store for you in the coming days now. Okay. First of all, this booklet is basically a work booklet. It is a rough copy working booklet that you're going to be asked to do several things in over the next few days in order to prepare you to write a formal ecological footprint report. And the details of that report and what I'm expecting are actually discussed in great detail in the back of this booklet. Okay, the parameters of the report, the rubric, the details of what I'll be asking you to do are here. Now, we are days away from being, from ready and from it being appropriate for me to get into the details of what this report is going to be asking you to do. But for those that are interested in looking on the horizon and for interested in paying attention sort of to what we're learning now and how it will connect eventually to your final product, the thing you'll be handing in for marks, there are 9 bullets here. Each of these bullets is a very important question attached to it. And these are the questions that we are seeking to start to answer in the coming days. And eventually you will write your answers out in a formal report that will be handed in by email to me. Okay, so I want to sort of start with the end in mind there and give you a chance to understand how this big booklet, this project booklet, has a lot of different information in it that you're going to be using over the next week or two. So we've made our notes by now on here, I hope, or you will by tomorrow. And then the next few pages are about a quiz. And this is a quiz that we're asking you to take on paper, okay? And it used to be attached to an online quiz that used exactly the same 27 questions. But that online Eco Footprint calculator is now down. The website is down. So we've had to go to a different website calculator, but the 27 questions that are being asked here are really good questions, and many of them are thought-provoking and will get you prepared to take the online quiz from that different website that we'll introduce you to next week. So the job over the coming weekend and into early next week is for you to try your best to answer all 27 of these questions with as much precision as you can. And there are certain questions you're going to have to get some help from your parents on. And in some sense, these questions are being asked of you and your family. There's certain habits that we're asking you to think about and talk about that are not really your habits. They're how your family lives. And so you have to consider this ecological footprint that we're going to be asking you to calculate is kind of a hybrid between your personal way that you live your life as a 15 or 16-year-old student and how your family is living currently. And so many of these questions you're going to likely need some help from a parent at home that can answer them more clearly, more accurately. Okay, but basically the 27 questions are there, and you're asked to start answering as many of them as you can in the coming days. And certainly by early next week, it is expected that you have finished answering those 27 questions and done whatever research you need to do to fill in the ones that were tricky. Okay, the calculations sheet. Now this is a set of instructions that are designed to help you with 3 of what are likely to be the toughest questions you have to answer: 6, 17, and 18. And these are questions that require some calculation in some sort, and so that's why there's extra help here for people who need it. Okay, so you can read or you can simply, if you find it easy to answer those questions, then you don't even need to worry. These are the questions, they're the information on pages 7 and 8 here are to help people answer certain questions that typically take more time and more calculating, and there's some links and help here for how to do that if you need it. When the time comes to actually take your quiz, then there's instructions here, and there's another PowerPoint coming that will help explain what it is you're supposed to do to record your results when you actually take the online quiz. Okay. Now, once you've taken the quiz, which I expect you will early next week, then probably Monday or Tuesday, I'm guessing. Then it's time to reflect on the results of that quiz. What were your and your family's ecological footprint? And once you've recorded it here, it's time to start sort of debriefing that and thinking about what it means and what it shows about your lifestyle. And fundamentally, what you're going to start to do is work in this planner document and answer these questions to help you get ready to write that final report. Many of the questions that are in this planner document here are very closely related to those 9 bullets that I was showing you earlier here, that you're going to have to write a little mini paragraph to each of these 9 bullets. And so when you are working through this planner document, this planner section of your green booklet, you really will in many ways be creating a rough copy or a rough draft of your eventual good copy report. I hope you'll notice here I wrote as big as I could fit that you don't have to do part 3. So omit any questions in part 3, just cross them out, don't worry about them. But the societal change and the personal change, parts 4 and 5, as well as the first 2 parts, those are all questions that are designed to help you get ready to actually write your report, which again is talked about in the final 2 pages where there's rubrics and explanations. And I'm not going to get too much more into detail here because we are a week away from even really starting to think about writing this report. But I do want you to notice that there will be certain instructions once in a while that we just won't be able to follow through on because you're working from home now. So for example, when it says you're going to submit this booklet to me, this green booklet for marks, that, for example, is not going to happen. I am going to be taking in your actual good copy report. You're going to email it to me as a Word document, and that's it. And so the marks that come from that are what I'm going to be marking. Okay. Now, this is basically a chance for me to sort of let you know where we're headed and what the next few days are going to look like. I'll put together one more email that just lists very sort of like a recipe. Do this, do that, do this, next, next, next. But much of this video is meant to sort of get you visually ready for that. So you're going to be using this sustainable development PowerPoint to make notes in your ecological footprint page 2 of your booklet. You're going to be working through the rest of that booklet and answering the 27 questions in it and getting ready to take an online quiz. But you don't have to take it yet because I'm going to teach you a bit more about what an ecological footprint is in this PowerPoint. And I'm going to be making a video on that tomorrow morning probably and posting it later in the day as a way of teaching you more about this concept of what an ecological footprint is. And that PowerPoint has more instructions on how to take the online quiz. So it will be an important PowerPoint for you to work through. But I want to make a video for it because it's so complex. Okay. The one other thing I'm going to show you right now is that there is an Eco Footprint article package. It's right here, item number 8. And these articles are all about various aspects of Canada's ecological footprint or how the world is behaving towards nature and its resources. There are a variety of articles in here. You will be asked to quote from at least one of these articles, probably 2 of them, when you make your final report. So I am asking that you start to have a look at these articles and have a look and see if there's an article that catches your eye that you think is particularly interesting, and read it and highlight it and make some notes around the margin, do some talking to text, so that when it is time to write your final report, you're going to be able to go back and refer to an article that you've read from this booklet. Okay, and again, all of the items that I've been talking about lately are all inside the folder called the Ecological Footprint, which is inside your Unit 2 folder. Okay, and so we're starting to work our way down here. We're already at item number 8. And I will be talking to you much more about this PowerPoint. I'll be making a video for it and embedding that video inside the front of that PowerPoint like I've done with some of my other ones this year. And when that happens, I'll repost this and you'll know that this PowerPoint now has a little video to go with it that'll teach you about some of the the details that are contained inside it and how to connect them all together. Okay, and later next week we will definitely be talking more about something called carrying capacity. There's a couple of videos I want to ask you to watch and think about. So we've got plenty of other things to do yet around the ecological footprint before we actually start to write our report. But I do want you to know that that's what's on the horizon. And for those that want to take a look at what's coming, all the information you need is contained inside this project booklet. Okay, so we're getting close to 25 minutes now of instruction. So I'm going to cut this video short at this point and post this as soon as possible so that people know now how to move beyond just working on their textbook notes and reading that booklet. Now you have a few more things that you can do for the rest of this week and over the weekend. I'll be in touch as soon as possible with more details. Take care, everybody. And do feel free to send me an email if you're feeling like this is still too much and you need to clarify something that I've said. Okay? Take care.